Okay, we're going to do some practice for the steak assessment. First we're going to look at is the packaging of the meat it comes in. As a chef, good practice for you will be on checking delivery, check the use by dates, making sure that first of all there's no damage to the packaging, there's no holes in the vacuum seal, and then you've got adequate life on the meat itself. Now this one, it was packed on the 3rd, which was yesterday, and it's used by the 8th, so that gives us a good 4 days. That's about average. Usually if you get 5 days you're doing pretty well. Obviously if you are going to buy a large stock in and you're going to freeze them down, you have to take the 1 day that you took delivery of it as a day. When you freeze it, when you come to defrost it, you have to minus 1 day, so you'd only have 3 days instead of 4 days after you defrost it. Okay, so you have to class today as a day. If you do freeze it, you'll need to put a second label on, date of freezing, and we say good practice no more than 3 months. But the really important bit is make sure, because I've been involved in an establishment where the health inspector wasn't happy because we put the day and the month on but we didn't put the year on. So make sure, especially if you're coming to the end of the year and that 3 months goes over to the next year, so make sure you put a use by date with the year on it. Okay, it's all down to traceability as well. So also on here it's got country of origin UK. Now good practice would be the last bit would be filled out, which it isn't. It's got here reared in, slaughtered in, and then cut date. Unfortunately they're not being filled out. For me, I'd like to see all that, because that's, if I'm putting on my menu locally reared meat from our local butcher, say, the first question the customer says is, oh, where's the beef from? And all I can say is obviously from the UK. However, if you put on your menu locally sourced and locally reared, you want to know where your meats come from. Okay? So you can go to your butcher and say, can you make sure this information is filled out fully? And they'll do that for you. So, that being the case, what we're going to do first of all is prep the steaks. Now, we've got some rump steak. What we're not going to do first of all is just put it straight into the pan. You're going to prep it first for me. So, I'm going to take 4 because we're going to use it to taste it. Now, the first thing you notice, depending on where it's been cut, you'll notice some have very little fat on. Okay? Yet some, if it's at the back of the animal, has that layer of skin on there as well. Skin and fat. It doesn't mean you have to trim that off. Right? Just make sure when you do cook it, because we're pan frying, that we make sure when we're cooking, we turn it so it's sitting on that fat to cook it. Okay, so you are going to be managing that pan yourself. Now today, what I have done is turned all the electric ones on prior to you guys coming in, purely because I want them nice and hot. You've got to have hot pans today. The issue is you can't have your pans too hot, because what you don't want to do is colour it and burn it on the outside and have it not cooked to the degree we want on the inside. Now the assessment is that you will be cooking 2 steaks, 1 medium, 1 rare. The reason why we picked those 2 degrees are, for us, they're the most common. Also, anybody really can cook a well-done steak. You just keep on and keep turning it until it's cooked, until it goes nice and hard. Now, what I want to do today are, like I say, is a rare and a medium. So we're going to prep our steaks first. So I'm not going to flatten them. All I'm going to do is just move them out of it. Now, what I've got here is a mix of sea salt and ground black pepper, and also what I'm going to add to it is just a small amount of Worcester sauce. Now, there's enough here for quite a few people. Now, when we talk about any cooking, we always talk about sometimes infusing flavour. The same goes for meat. Yeah, you can put a piece of steak on a pan and cook it. But today, we're trying to do more than that. We're trying to infuse lots of flavour into it. The salt and pepper brings the flavour of the meat out. The Worcester sauce as well helps marry that together. We've also got the compound butter, which we made a couple of weeks ago and froze down. As we stated, that will make a lovely sauce on the plate. Now, what will happen is, when we've cooked our steak, we'll leave it on a board for about a couple of minutes just to rest. Because if you think about in the trade, what you do, you cook your steak, and then it's either resting or waiting for the customer to finish their starters, or you're waiting for a waitress to take it out. I don't want to just take it from the pan and put it on a plate. I want to naturally give it a couple of minutes just to rest. Then, what we're going to do with the pan, we're going to use one piece of butter to deglaze the pan. The other piece of butter we're going to stick on the steak to start melting, and then we're going to pour the hot butter from the pan over that piece of butter to really start it melting on your plate. So it forms that natural sauce we talked about the other week. So as we see there, that's my crushed sea salt and pepper mix. So all I'm going to do is just take a small amount and then really rub it into my steak. Now, because obviously I'm touching raw meat, any that's left over, where's it going to go? Can we keep it? No. So after today, anything left over, obviously if you're going to use it after me, that's fine because you're doing exactly the same as I'm doing. However, if you're not, then that's it. That's why I tend not to make much up. Just enough to what I need for today. Now that is lovely. Now if I was probably going to do this at home, or like I say in a restaurant, and I know I've got so many orders, I'd probably have them done up in advance, right, and then layered with cling film, and then again it's starting that marinating process off. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're just going to prep the butter up.